Welcome to Ask The Latina in our Latina Business Connection series. The fastest growing group of entrepreneurs in the U.S. are minorities and women are leading. Among all women-owned businesses, Hispanic women-owned businesses has increased by 87.5%, higher than any other women-owned minority or non-minority owned. There are several industries Latinas start a business in. In a global economy, companies can only expand their businesses as fast as they have the resources to support each new country or language. Today, our guest, Dr. Randi Lou Franklin, whom has been in business for 25 years. She is with us today, and her company is called Inter-Lingua, which provides foreign language services in over 150 languages with an expertise involving in legal, medical, and technical communities. Welcome, Randi. Nice to have you on our show. Thank you so much for being with us today.
It's a real pleasure to be here.
Tell me a little bit about your growing up as a Latina and why you decided to go into linguistics as a profession.
Well, I grew up in a household where everyone came to learn English. And because being a Latina was not emphasized in those days and not standing out, and we were asked to blend in. But I was one of those children who really never did blend in and asked my mother to find people to teach me all kinds of languages. And my sister was always speaking Spanish, so that became our language between us. And
well, your heritage is...
My heritage is Mexico, from Mexico City. And then, but we, again, at that time, it was not very positive to be a Latina.
Well, yeah, I remember.
The times, fortunately, have changed.
Were you in Michigan at that time?
Right here in Michigan.
Okay. Yeah.
And Metro Detroit.
Yeah.
And we... You know, I always loved languages. I always loved our culture.
Good.
And over the years found that it was more a part of me than I realized.
Oh, that's great. And what type of education is required in this field?
Well, I think I pushed the parameters a bit because I went to the National University of Mexico in Mexico City.
Oh, okay.
In La UNAM. And then came back and went to the University of Michigan. And then from there, I also covered the other major schools here in Metro area. I went to Wayne State, and I have my master's in foreign language education from there. I have my law degree from Detroit, well, it was Detroit College of Law. And then from there, they became Michigan State School of Law.
Okay.
And then after that, I went to Magdalen College at Oxford in England as a Jessup Scholar for International.
Wow, so you're in England, you're in Mexico City as well, right?
Right.
Wow, that's fantastic. When did you decide to go into business, and what are some of the obstacles that you faced and had to overcome?
Well, I decided to go into business because I was actually running Hispanic Legal Services in Southwest Detroit at the time, and I saw that my community was being neglected by not having people who spoke their language, who understood their culture, in everything they did, whether it was business, in law, whatever. And so, although I ran Hispanic Legal Services, something was calling me that I needed to do more, and I loved what I did, but it wasn't enough, and so I just sort of went off. It wasn't well thought out in the beginning, but I wrote down what are my attributes of what I love to do, what can I bring to the plate, and created Inter-Lingua.
That's great. So what's it like to manage so many different types of language translations that you oversee in your business?
It can be very challenging.
150, right?
Yes, we cover 150 languages with real people. We translate all the time for dignitaries and for small businesses, everyone in the public and private sector both. So it makes it very challenging, but it also makes it very interesting every day. Something's new. I'm personally learning more about other cultures.
Oh, yeah.
You know, And you know, people say, well, you know, you're Latina, you know this, that, and the other. And I said, I know about Mexico, but there's so much more.
It's different in different Latin countries. Yeah, we have different cultures.
We have different cultures, and you know, it's so exciting to learn so many different things about. We share a language. But even sometimes there are differences in our languages. Yeah, we still
have like the, what do you call them, slangs, I guess.
Some or sort idiomatic expressions.
Yeah, idiomatic, different ones. Something might be offended in one and it isn't in the other.
When I started the legal services, I would hear words that in my house, my mouth would have been washed out with soap if I used certain terms.
Yeah.
And found out that they meant obviously something very different in other cultures, other Spanish-speaking cultures.
Right. So how important is it for companies to consider cultural marketing when they're using translations in their advertising campaign or their product sales presentation?
Well, they're going to always want to put their best foot forward. So if they're putting their best foot forward, whether it's in English, they need to do the same thing when they're reaching out to another community. And they need to look for expertise in that, because that is not their world. And they would look for expertise if it was in English, so obviously then they should also be doing that in the other languages of the various other cultures.
Yeah, that's true. Too many times I see where they just kind of translate in the voiceover, but you don't really see the cultural of the people, or they don't really capture it right. And it's kind of, I think it's probably they're losing customers rather than gaining them, because they haven't combined the two together.
Yeah, they haven't thought it all the way through. Or they have just tried to get something translated maybe by someone who was not a professional. Because you're bilingual doesn't make you a translator.
And so is there a lot of competition in your industry?
Yes, there's good competition, and I think competition is good. It keeps you on your toes. It makes you work harder. It makes the effort more real.
Right, it does. So what should a Latina in a startup business consider when they're setting themselves apart, in order to set themselves apart from a business that's competition?
Well, first of all, they need to educate themselves as much as they can about where they're heading.
That's good.
And then find a mentor.
Yeah, it's very important, isn't it? It's not just as a profession, but as a business owner.
As a business owner, because your employees, and you'll have people that you hire to work for you, because you're not going to try to do everything.
Yes.
Because you're going to cut yourself up into too many pieces and not do it right.
Yeah, that's true.
And the people are hiring you to do it right.
Yeah, that's right. You got to do it right. Entrepreneurs face frustration in having long hours. They're spinning their wheels with clients that never see their value, handling their own bookkeeping, and finding the right business organizations that will give them the best return for their membership. Let's take each one of these frustrations, and how have you handled this in order to grow your business? Can you let us know what you think about how you handled each one of these? Okay,
well, let's start with the first one, working long hours.
Right.
When you're an entrepreneur, be ready to work long hours. That's just part of the market.
Right.
And if you love what you do, the long hours doesn't bother you. Sometimes you're going to be tired, but that's it. That also allows me the freedom that in the afternoon maybe I could take off a couple hours that I wouldn't be able to do if I had an official 9-to-5 job. That I can do, because I'll be up to 2 in the morning working on a translation, proofreading, looking through whatever my clients sent, following up with marketing, checking on making sure that my website is running well. I mean, all of those things that come with being an entrepreneur.
Right.
You're click them off the box.
Right. It's a give and take. It's different from being 9 to 5. So you got to understand that you're going to be putting a lot of hours into it, especially at the beginning. And probably all the time, really, actually. At the beginning.
It didn't
It always happens.
There are times.
Yeah, that's good. How about challenging clients?
Challenging clients, I've gone to many seminar that says, well, get rid of all of your challenging clients. Well, I haven't figured that one out yet. Some of them are challenging just with contacting them and reaching them, particularly because they're usually, when they think about translation, that's the last part of whatever project. And suddenly they don't realize that we need time to think about it. It's not just word for word.
Right.
It's the concepts. And just like they wanted to make sure the concepts were right in whatever language, we need to do the same thing.
That's right.
And so it is very time consuming. And we specialize because we have 2 translators on every project. We don't just have 1 translator.
Right.
So making sure everyone is on the same page, and that we're, if we made a change on something, we keep the pathways open, and so we've got to let the client know.
Right.
And sometimes challenging clients can just throw another change in how you're handling your project.
Oh, yeah, it can be challenging. How about bookkeeping?
Bookkeeping, I have learned that it's much easier to send it out. There's just too much to it. In the beginning, you try to do everything just because that's really all you know.
Right.
And it's also hard to let go. When you're an entrepreneur, whatever you created is your child.
Right.
And those of us who have had children, it's hard to let go.
That's true.
And even when it's just bookkeeping's very important.
Right. I agree with you on that one. How about business support organizations? How do you select which ones to go to and value, and have you kind of dropped some and why have you done that?
I have probably in the Metro Detroit area checked out everyone at some point in time.
That's great.
And I've learned from them. Some of them I've stayed with long periods of time. Some of them I've seen that it wasn't a good fit. And because my time is so special to me for developing my business, growing my business, being there for my clients, that I have to pick and choose very carefully. Often if I don't actually join in a group, maybe one of the chambers, I will support them and attend their events that are open to non-members. And I will let others know about it if it's a group that I like, but I don't really see the dollar and cents for my business, but maybe for someone else, or I may be able to meet someone there who might become a good mentor, or have contacts that maybe it's not their business, but they know someone, because that's very precious. People who they know. It's not always the person that you're meeting.
So the ones that you've stuck with, as far as organizations that you're a member of, what qualities did you look for when you joined them?
First of all, I've been pretty active with the various ones that help women entrepreneurs.
Okay, that's good.
And that's always been foremost in my approach.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Because there has always been some various programs for men, but not necessarily for women.
No, there isn't very many.
And so I've been active with a number of the women women groups that we have. I've been active with some of the ones that cater towards the Hispanic community, because it's near and dear to my heart. And even if I'm not necessarily getting business from them, I may be able to connect them to someone, because it's all about helping each other. It's not just your own business.
That's true. That's good. Many are considering starting a business, but they have the fear of hiring the right people. They might end up with the wrong people. In your business, that must be critical. And what are some of your lessons learned and advice to those that are just starting a business in any industry?
Okay. I've had lessons learned. First of all, I learned to be very truthful with my clients. Not that you wouldn't be, but if you're really right up front with them, when people try to come behind your back, I have found that clients will actually call me and tell me, so-and-so, an interpreter who worked here, is now starting a business, and they were wondering.
One that worked for you.
Yeah.
Oh.
And they were wondering, could they bid on the next project too? and that's very difficult. Fortunately, I've had very good clients who've known that I always provide quality, and that I play no games with them. I'm very straightforward, and so I've been fortunate that way. But I can't say that the people have always been good. But you know, there's so many good people out there. You just have to take the time to learn who you're interviewing and what you're looking for.
Right, right. And I'm sure too, you probably, the ones that stay with you, I probably enjoy working for you. There's something there that you've built a trust with, right?
We've built a trust, and I have some people who've been with me. I've been in business for over 25 years.
Yep.
And I have some people who've been with me 20, 21 years.
Wow, that's
so, you know, you develop more than, you know, we know we can go to each other. I can say, look, I'm sorry it's short notice, but is there any way you can, you know, help me with this project? It needs to be translated. I need you to proofread this. Can you interpret at, you know, at certain places?
Right, right.
You know, like you asked earlier, is there certain kind of education you need? Obviously, the more education you have, the more you bring to the plate.
Right, right.
And on top of that is that in the courts you have to have certain kinds of certifications.
Right, which brings me to when, you know, today many high schools, they require a second language.
Yay.
And to learn from middle school all the way to high school. So do you think this should start at elementary, and how important is it? And could these high school students, graduates, see an advancement in knowing a second or third language proficiently in their own future careers?
Well, because I'm also an educator, I love that. Actually, I used to have foreign language programs in the K through 8 schools.
That's great.
Because of economics, those disappeared in a number of them. But they did realize the importance of a foreign language. And whenever I've been involved with teaching, and any foreign language teacher I've ever met, they always bring in aspects of culture. So they're opening their eyes to the young people, and it gives them an opportunity to learn a little bit outside their own backyard.
Yeah, there are some private schools that start early, but it's nice to see that a lot more public schools have adapted this knowing a second language in order to get your high school diploma, which is really nice.
It's wonderful.
Very important. It's been fascinating learning about your business, and I can certainly see that you're passionate about what you do. What is your advice for Latinas considering, you know, watching you and considering to start a business? I'm not sure yet whether they should or not.
My advice is to go ahead and do it. Learn, make sure that they're comfortable in whatever they're starting out in, so that they have a good base. I had a PhD in linguistics. I was multilingual when I started, so I didn't also need to just rely on the Spanish. I had other languages that if someone called me, I could go to.
Right.
But I had the background of working within the Hispanic community. And so I had a good support system behind me too, and I think that's really important too.
Right, that's good. That's good. Well, thank you. Well, thank you for being our guest today, Randi. I really appreciate it. Dr. Randi Lou Franklin, and she's been with us, and it's been wonderful learning about your field and your business. So thank you again.
It's my pleasure.
This concludes our program, and we look forward to seeing you again at Ask The Latina.